risk capital branch of the IDB that enables poor and vulnerable populations for sustainable growth in Latin America and the Caribbean. Before joining IDB Lab, he worked in the consumption electronics industry as well as urban development. His trajectory, his work in entrepreneurship, financial inclusion, agriculture development, employment in the future, and nature-based solutions, always emphasize in inclusions. He is a master's, and so please, William, the auditorium is yours. Do go ahead. Thank you, Luis Roberto. It's a pleasure to be here and share with all this audience. Very happy to see some familiar faces and some partners like colleagues from ADA that and the Incofin colleagues that have been key in all this process. I'm going to share my screen next. And Luis Roberto has very well introduced Incofin. We are the risk capital for the IDB. You probably heard the IDB. We are the main financier of the development of in Latin America and the Caribbean. But besides this bank that supports governments and public sector, we have other branches of the bank. We have been invest that supports the private sector, and we have us that are the younger brother that we've only been in the market for 3 years, and we work with innovation ecosystems because we think that disruptive innovations can be catalyzers of the challenges of the development. So we believe a lot in the entrepreneurs, and with disruptive technologies, we can identify new ways to address the development challenges with focus on poor and vulnerable populations and activate new markets for growth. We do this through 3 products. The main and the one that is that we are known for is financing. We're a bank, but also we have an agenda of knowledge where we generate knowledge that are sharing today the insights that we got from this project from our operational agenda, and we have a connections projects agenda. And these are platforms that we have all entrepreneurs can interconnect and perform events. So the commercial step has not been taken or announced yet, but we will be in Quito in October, and then you will see the announcement in our social media. If you want to join us in Quito, we will be glad to have you there. And a little bit to tell you how do we do this and to understand why we work with Incofin and colleagues from ADA in this project. I work in where we provide technical assistance of grants. What we seek is to foster a proper environment for innovation. We seek to work with the bank and with ourselves and other stakeholders like ADA, its group. And what we want is to strengthen entrepreneurial talent. We have many entrepreneurial success stories to create solid networks. So sometimes entrepreneurs are kind of loners sometimes, and to get them in touch with investors and create a support infrastructure, which means we're not talking about 5G or broadband. We're talking like stakeholders or actors like Incofin that is coaching, that is bringing the best out of their entrepreneurs and to work in this environment. So we do this with technical assistance and grants because we also invest actively. We have a seed capital investment on products, direct investments, and venture capital investments. We're also are partners of these funds, but we want more theme funds also. The majority of funds that we have in Latin America and the Caribbean are agnostic funds that they will invest in any sector or anywhere, any activity, but we would like to see in Latin America more investment in agriculture due to Latin America's nature. It's a challenge that we have is we have a small loan practice. We loan money to entrepreneurial initiatives that look good, and then are having a hard time finding financing for their activities. So we provide support in this matter in the region, and we seek that after these two support activities that we do in stages 1 and 2, we have scale solutions. But we believe that many of them could be expanded, and we can do this through the bank, through the public policy, through BidInvest that invests in many funds in different stages. Maybe they can join them, or private sector allies and partners that can participate that are also investing in entrepreneur activities, so we can work with them too. I introduce you some of the platforms that we have and the event, the flagship event that we have that this year will be in Ecuador. We wait for you there. And a little bit, I wanted to tell you why we're working in some topics like agriculture. We have slow productiveness and structural challenges in agriculture, and limited access to financing. We are vulnerable to climate change as well. Another topic that we cannot ignore is the growth of rural population. We're in the middle of a demographic transition. We're in a region that is growing very faster in the world. But when we look at the country who is producing, is an aging population. So we're asking to this no young population to be productive. So how can we leverage this situation using technology? Leverage technology to resolve this situation. So we need to create technology to accompany them. We are creating training and adapted models with a comprehensive approach, but we cannot leave them by themselves. Not just creating technology, and who is using this technology to be more productive. So our approaches in digital agriculture is innovation with social environmental impact in Latin America and the Caribbean. The agricultural and food systems, and the climate resilience of smallholder producers, and the reduction of gaps and access, use of data platforms, fintechs, and remote monitoring for the
Porque el día que el agricultor tiene que salir de su campo e ir a un banco a la ciudad más cercana,
that the agriculture, the peasant has to come out from his field and go to a city bank, and this is going to help them on our daily activities. Early support and scaling, upscaling, we seek catalyzers supporting initiatives to generate insights and create projects. And in here, this is a catalyzer that I was just mentioned. What we seek is to drive early high-risk stages. We need to enter our mandate in stages where there are no other actors. So this will be the first movers to arrive to this sector. So the risk is high, and we need to mitigate this risk, and we need to test, validate, and refine models that are innovative. We are seeking to strengthen ecosystem for innovation, then promote alliances with agtech startups, foundations, academies, and investors. Also, we need innovation with upscaling potential. We need to seek successful solutions, because only if we have successful solutions, we'll be able to mobilize additional capital, and we will be able to tell other actors to join in. And we seek sustainable transition. We can speed this transition up through more sustainable agriculture. even a more resilient agriculture, integrating technology, productiveness, and adaptation in early stages. Some learnings on our practice, the continuous monitoring to producers and exact solutions is essential to for this is essential to adopt a successful technology is key to implement local models with continuous training and the building of trust, the collaboration with the ecosystems, and the cooperation between the academia, civil society, and key entities to offer sustainable solutions to be flexible and facilitate the impact of upscaling in the future. Thank you. I'll leave you there with our contact information and social media, and pleased to have this conversation. Thank you for your presentation, William, and as well for IDB Lab to bet on Incofin in this digital agriculture initiative. We give the word to Caroline Molat, coordinator of the program SNUP. Now that she's been working in ADA and financial inclusion for over 10 years and is currently responsible for the coordination of the SNUP program. She's been involved with this program from its inception in the year 2020. Caroline will do her presentation in English, so those of you who wish to speak, listen to it in Spanish, you can choose the Spanish channel in your screen as it was explained previously. You can find it at the bottom of your screen with the interpretation icon looking like a planet. If you need any further assistance, please let us know to the chat so you can give support.
Hello, everyone. So thank you very much, Luis. So I work for ADA. So ADA is an NGO based in Luxembourg, supporting inclusive finance since more than 30 years. And at ADA, we coordinate this SNUP program. SNUP stands for Smallholder Sustainability Upscaling Program. So I will introduce you to this program now. If I can move it. Yes. So SNUP is a 10-year program that was launched in 2020 with the main goal to improve the resilience of smallholder households through technical assistance and investment in agricultural value chain. It's a program co-financed by the Luxembourg, by the Development Cooperation of Switzerland, Luxembourg, and Liechtenstein. And SNUP is built around three main objectives: to increase the resilience of smallholder households, to strengthen the agricultural value chain, and to increase investment in the agricultural sector, notably through technical assistance, but also with complementary de-risking solutions. We are active in Africa, Latin America, and Asia, but we have a priority region in Africa and a focus in the least developed countries. So now, how we achieve these objectives and how we work. So we operate as a technical assistance facility for impact investor investing in agriculture. We partner with impact investors such as Incofin, and these investors invest in agricultural value chain actors like agri-SMEs, cooperatives, and financial institutions. And the role of SNUP is to co-finance technical assistance projects that is designed by these investors for their investees or potential investees. And the projects aim to strengthen the organization itself, the capacity of the organizations, as well as to develop dedicated, adapted solutions for smallholder households. Ultimately, the objective is to increase the resilience of the farmers and their households. And the program promotes projects focusing around climate resilience, improved nutrition, gender equality, and better access to markets. And this is the result so far that you see on the screen. So since its launch, the program has supported 140 technical assistance projects. So we launched it in 2020. And these 140 projects benefit around 250 organizations across 38 countries for a SNUP contribution total of 11.7 million coming from SNUP, but it represents 56% of the total budgets of the all 150 projects, because the rest is co-financed directly by the organizations themselves, and sometimes as well by additional other funders, like in this case with the IDB Lab. And as a result, over 700,000 farmers have gained specific adapted solution, financial and non-financial services, and indirectly 1.6 million farmers were reached through via the program. And all of this has been made possible as of today with the partnership of 11 investor partners that we have long-term partnership with these investors that you can see on the bottom of the screen, and as well through regular call for projects that we organized, and that those call for projects are open to other impact investors. And all of this, all together, these efforts have helped mobilize around 270 million euros in investments for all those supported beneficiary organizations of the project. And at ADA, we are responsible for coordinating the program and as well of managing its knowledge and learnings. And I invite you to visit our website, snup.org, where you can have access to all the projects that have been approved already in the program. And you will also have access to all the learnings publication on the resource page. And thanks to Incofin today, thanks to Luis, thanks to the partners, we have now a great opportunity today to look at a concrete example of a technical assistance project co-funded by SNUP and IDB Lab, and to better understand the work done by investors with their investees, and here potential investees, in this case to provide adapted solutions for smallholder farmers. Thank you very much. Luis, I give you the floor.
Thank you very much, Caroline, for your presentation and for the impressive work that ADA and the SNUP program have done for the welfare of smallholder farmers in so many countries. I also want to thank you on behalf of Incofin for being a great partner, not only in our AgTech initiative, but also in other innovative projects. Now I switch to Spanish. Para cerrar esta sección de introducción de nuestro...
To close this introduction section, I invite my colleague Mauricio Mendoza, who's a Incofin Management Technical Assistance Officer. He has over 12 years experience in design of strategic design of projects, monitoring and assessment, and also worked for USAID in Colombia. Please, Mauricio, go ahead. Hello, Luis. Thank you very much. I'm going to make my presentation in English, so you will be able to listen to it.
Thank you so much for attending this webinar today. As Luis have said, my name is Mauricio Mendoza. I'm a technical assistance officer at Incofin, investment manager. Incofin is an impact investment manager that was born in Belgium in 1992, and is an impact investment manager with two main vehicles. The first one is private equity, and the other one is private debt. With this, we have Incofin has deployed more than 5 billion of US dollars in impact investments over 76 countries in through different 19 funds. In terms of private debt, we work mainly on inclusive finance and sustainable food. And here, just to mention that we deliver the essential goods and services in high impact sectors. Our main goals are inclusive finance and sustainable food and safe water as well. And since inception, we have deployed more than we have supported more than 2.5 million for smallholder farmers and deployed more than 170 technical assistance projects. Also, something important to mention is that we support the investees both through capital, but also through technical assistance. And for us, technical assistance is an important mechanism for improving the skills and to fostering innovation across our portfolio. So we see the TA as a strategic tool to provide tailored support and build the capacity of our investees. It's not just bringing value through the capital, but also working hand in hand with the clients, but also with the investors and the funders to promote and develop agricultural value chains, and also in the other sectors that we work with. Throughout these times, we have managed more than 10 facilities and secured more than 20 million euro, while disbursed more than 12 million euro in grants. We have been working actively in more than 50 countries and plus 180 projects. On technical assistance, or at the technical assistance unit, we work hand in hand also with the investment team, and we have three main themes for technical assistance support. The first one is the risking. It could be pre or post investment. It is mainly completed after the investment when the investment team rises a concern or a problem of an investee. Also, we work on maximizing impact, which is, for instance, the case that we are attending today on this active project. And also, we work on value creation. These are the main goals for the technical assistance project. And we currently have 6 active facilities. 3 of them are specific to the funds, like the Incofin Microfinance Fund, the Fair Trade Access Fund, and the Water Access Acceleration Fund. Each one of them provides support to a specific fund at Incofin, and also the GGSF. And as Caroline has mentioned, Incofin receive support from SNUP, and we are the vehicle for providing this technical assistance project to the clients in the portfolio. We see SNUP as an agnostic fund and really important fund to provide support on different topics that we work with and where our clients need the support, and also actually the IDB Lab, which is the one we are talking today together with Snoop. This will be my brief introduction of Incofin and technical assistance at Incofin. Luis, thank you so much, and I want to say thank you to the attendants today. Thank you.
Muchas gracias, Mauricio, y también a todos los colegas de Incofin que han contribuido a este
Thank you,
proyecto.
Mauricio, and all the colleagues from Incofin that have contributed at this agricultural project. We continue with the presentation from Leslie Araton, Senior Consultant for the AgTech Network. This entity was contracted to have an external and impartial objective view of our project. We're thankful for their accompaniment, independent work, and constant work with all our 14 beneficiary organizations. Leslie has a long, extensive background in this area and has led research activities in the agriculture field like GSMA and USA. Please, Leslie, go ahead with the presentation. Give me 1 second to show my presentation. Okay, here we are. Thank you very much, Luis Roberto, for inviting us to participate in this event. I want to catalyze the investment for the segment of the digital agriculture in Latin America, especially in the countries that have little countries. I'm Leslie Araton. I'm the consultant for the ACTA network, which is a recently created consultant firm focused in digital technologies and in weather resilience. During the last year, I've been following the progress of different projects on a quarterly basis with each one of the funders and the responsible parties in each one of the projects, trying to extract good practices, insights, things that turn out well, and things that can be seen differently, so we can share with the industry a report that we will be publishing in a couple of months with all our teachings and insights. Through this review, we'll share some perspectives that we'll share with you today. At the end of and we start with some achievements from the project that were many, even though it has been a short period of time for the projects, talking in the agricultural sector, and share with you some of the main learnings, teachings of these projects, and some recommendations for the stakeholders participating in this sector and the development of the platforms for the startups, the fintechs, agricultural companies that are launching digital tools to promote increases in productiveness and create more economically feasible rural areas to attract the needed investments. In terms of the project, I think it was quite ambitious regarding its goals with its investment and technical support of these 14 companies. The project that wanted to increase productiveness as well as income for smallholder agricultures. And this is important for all 14 beneficiaries, where the goals that we have regarding profitability and productiveness increase, and to promote financial inclusion, access to small agricultures, to give them access to loans and credits. It's one of the strongest issues in their work. We also have solutions that they could support that had an approach regarding weather resilience, because in these countries are very vulnerable to climate change. So let's say that we check that the projects have a good gender approach to close the gap and the gender gap that is present in the country. Sometimes they have, if they don't have any mobile phones, they don't have access to bank accounts. So we needed to start thinking in the gender topic because so women can have access, other people can have access to financial services. We also wanted to improve the operation of the startups in particular and validate the business models. And once validated, we will be able to attract investments for the future. Delving a little deeper in what we have in this project, based on these 14 organizations, we could use services in 5 countries in Latin America, including Honduras, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, and Paraguay. We also had digital solutions that were very diverse. Some digital consulting services that were supporting agricultures with digital technical assistance. And as an example, it was, for example, the cold coffee and the drying of the coffee being processed. There were some applications that could help with pests and other problems, and how to resolve any problem that arises in the field. There were solutions that included better best practices, informations. For example, Restrepo Company that accompanied the producer during the process of the bell pepper. So there were smart agriculture solutions. So the top of the line technology, drones, and IoT solutions to offer them consulting solution, access to agricultural machinery, and also. But half of the solutions were financial services to small producers or cooperatives that work with smallholders agricultures. This is not unique to this project. This reflects a trend that we've seen globally, which is the growth of this category called agri-fintech, of fintech and companies that are supporting the agricultural sector. And finally, there was some agricultural e-commerce solutions, and the idea is to connect the small producers with the clients or the purchasers that so they can sell them at a better price for the small producer. As entering specifically in productiveness and financial inclusion, which were the top priorities for the project. There were 6 countries that have this that have below the average in Latin America, as well as other global emerging countries. Even countries like Honduras, the productiveness has dropped in recent years. So this idea of this project is to support smallholder agricultures with activities to generate more income. And in this category, we had good results in the studies. And the Restrepo Company reported that about half of the producers reported an increase in their income, sometimes for 38%, some others were 42%. And the producers direct, since we've been using this for not too long, we conducted a survey with the small producers about the tool with technical assistance, if this was any useful, and over 97% of the producers expressed that this was a useful tool for them. 83% of them expressed that this was a tool that would allow us to increase the productiveness. So these are very good early signs of the project, even though because many of the services were not active during this period of time. So we could expect higher percentages in the future, 2026. Regarding financial inclusion, which was an important approach for the project, close to 12,000 small producers were impacted by agricultural loans. Companies like Crescamos, IMEX, and that have very different models to offer credit to the small producers. We had great results according to the study. In terms of strengthening of climate resilience, we had some solutions that were introduced to the market. There were solutions that were created for climate mitigations to reduce carbon emissions, drop the use of agrochemicals and agriculture, and offer solutions to the small farmers in the reduction of agrochemicals. And also TerraCap has a new solution this year that was launched with the support of this project, where this company exports coffee and cocoa, and they're monitoring the carbon emissions and the impact of the deforestation. And this helps them with traceability issues and regulatory topics that are now coming up in Europe with the regulation of the deforestation implemented in Europe. Also, solutions that support the smallholder agricultures with adaptation and resilience, solutions that reduce their vulnerability, and that give them more information so they are better prepared or protects them in the event that a contingency comes along. One of the most interesting categories in this realm is parametric insurance. In some studies that we conducted recently, we've seen that this category is growing considerably and is an effective way to provide insurance to smallholder agricultures and support them in the event of a drought, of storms, or any other event. We also had these goals aligned with inclusion of women in this project. Several of the companies that participated in the project already had a strong strategy regarding gender inclusion, like Annex and Attractor. I think we are at a 50% of the clients are women, but it was important to include these goals, because of the importance of gender goals. In a recently issued studies that says that if women had the same access to the productive tools than men, they could increase the productiveness between 20 and 30%. And this will cause an increase global productiveness of 45%. This could eliminate hunger for 150 million people globally. This is why this is so important, because as it was said before, these digital tools can enlarge the gaps instead of closing them. And we see good results on behalf of the beneficiaries. As you see here, we had some women, and many of them went beyond these goals, and half of the credit went to women. We need to interact. Started with the parametric insurance during the year to increase this number in 2026. Close to 1,300 women with parametric insurance. And I wanted to go deeper in the case of Interactor because they adapted some strategies that were quite successful in the attraction of women and to ensure that they were benefiting from these new services being offered. Some of these that will be highlighted in our report that will be published soon, but some of the strategies that they use were they launched campaigns that specifically addressed to women with women protagonists and aligned with women interests and referral bonuses and also incentives for the consultants that bring more women to the services. Also preferred interest rates for women and support and additional consulting for women. Also, we wanted to share with you some of the things that have not been said, that did not came to fruition, or the stuff we wanted to improve along the year. Unfortunately, 4 out of the 14 companies that participate in the project were not able to launch their service in 2025, and these were not due to technical issues. Sorry, one second. The services were ready technically, but there were delayed. Some of the alliances that were ready to distribute the services got delayed, so we weren't able to enter in the Salvador market, like digital services. in particular, when we started from scratch, we also see that the majority of the services were launched during October, November of the year. And this was slightly later than we expected. In gender issues, it was hard to achieve the goals that the beneficiaries have. And I think that finally, we did not make the most of the opportunities of corporate approaches and making connections amongst the participants in other cooperative companies, banks, startups, and I think we could have done a little more in this regard, highlighting some of the main teachings of the project or learnings from the project's insights. One of the things that the project allowed, what the research in the user experience, this had not been done previously by any companies, and many found out that it was quite useful. They managed to test a variety of things based on the user experience. For example, which functionalities were more useful for the smallholder agriculture, which was the digital level of the people that were going to participate, if they had a phone, a smartphone, if they use WhatsApp and so forth. And this was quite useful and helped in the marketing activities. Also, the topic of the simplicity and the product design. This came as a result of the conversations that I had with the beneficiaries regarding the importance for the smallholder agricultures that there sometimes can be elderly and have education challenges. It's important to have large buttons, limited text, images, icons, and so on. It's also to have hybrid distribution strategies like online, offline. It's not possible when we're with a small to go in with full digital solutions. We need to provide offline accompaniment, and we need to support them in the registration process. We need to train them in the usage of the tools, answer some questions that may come up in the initial phases of the challenges for the companies is to identify this balance between hybrid strategy, online and offline strategy. Another insight is that the B2C models are quite complicated. To identify the small producer to generate trust takes quite a while. So it's more feasible. So some of the producers to enter through a B2B or B2B2C model, where we're reaching the small producers to a cooperative. The alliances are key to scale these solutions. And as I was saying before, a couple of products were not able to be launched on time because of the alliances were not, or there was a delay in the closing of the deals of the alliances. So it's not only important to have an alliance, but to have some other options in case one of them fail. And for the recommendations of the actors that are pushing the digital initiative, the recommendations for agriculture based on the insights that we mentioned in the last slide. I think it's super important to invest in user research. This is something that many do not do because of lack of time and resources. But in the long run, this saves a lot of money and time because this can be done with small samples of small groups and user interviews, and identify which are the challenges and needs that they face, then how well prepared, digitally well prepared they are. Also, the hybrid models, online, offline models to reach the producer and provide this in-person accompaniment is key, especially in early stages. To have identified alliances, to see options, to have not to fill out the page, use voice is very useful for the small producers to use voice notes are very in WhatsApp, for example. So this community is a strong user of WhatsApp. So implement solutions along these lines. And also, we also see with other the need to make the most of AI as much as possible. We have to use AI for consulting services for the small producer with chatbots to manage a lot of information, for example, with satellites, client weather stations, and I think we're going to see more and more in the future. And for the donors and investors, there should be longer financing terms. We're in agriculture. Sometimes we have long cycles. So it is necessary to support this cycle. And it is necessary to support the development of the ecosystem, not just technical support, but with the alliances and trainings to do introduction between organizations that might have a complementary model. Also to facilitate the access to risk capital, to foster experimentation, change if something is not working properly. Also to promote innovation with focus on gender topics, because this is sometimes the first problem that we have in a project with many things that are happening in the company, to keep this approach, gender approach, and facilitate the knowledge exchange through meetings, sessions like this one that can support the process. With this, I'll give the word to Luis Roberto. Leslie, thank you very much again for your presentation and all the accompaniment that you done in an external independent way from ATEC network. And now, Paulo, we want to present a video that tells the experiences of our agricultures had in the framework of this project. In a few moments, you will also have the opportunity to see your interventions, how was the creation process of this process. We have the experiences from Peru, Bolivia, and Honduras, and I can see that questions about it on the chat. So let me share my screen to present to you the video. 1 second, please.
Un momento, por favor.
One moment, please.
En América Latina, los pequeños agricultores son fundamentales para las economías locales y la seguridad alimentaria, pero muchos aún enfrentan baja productividad, un acceso limitado a mercados y una presión creciente del cambio climático. Las herramientas de agricultura digital pueden hacer una gran diferencia, pero solo cuando se construyen alrededor de las necesidades reales de los agricultores, o diseñadas con ellos, enfocadas en sus verdaderos desafíos y acompañadas por aliados de confianza en el territorio. El proyecto Impulsando la Innovación Digital para Pequeños Agricultores en América Latina, liderado por la Fundación Incofin con el apoyo de IDB Lab y Smallholder Sustainability Upscaling Program, fue creado justamente para eso. En 2024 se seleccionaron 14 soluciones digitales prometedoras y a lo largo del 2025 recibieron apoyo especializado para probar, escalar y llevar innovaciones significativas a agricultores en toda la región.
El sector agrícola tiene un gran potencial de generar impacto. ¿Por qué? Porque le llega a pequeños productores. Estos pequeños productores que están en áreas rurales, muchas veces sin servicios básicos, pues están en mucha desventaja y desde allí Incofin empezó a invertir en fondos que estaban relacionados con el agro. Estos nuevos avances y esta nueva tecnología que le están llegando realmente a los pequeños productores, quienes son el foco de nuestra relación.
El cambio climático ya está transformando la agricultura en América Latina. Temporadas impredecibles, sequías más intensas y plagas que se propagan con mayor rapidez.
Del 2023, lo que es la sequía, hemos tenido una dura crisis sobre la falta de agua, se ha tenido bastante pérdida de cultivos, ¿no? Entonces reducen tus rendimientos, por tanto pierdes tu inversión económica tanto en los insumos, en las semillas.
Los pequeños agricultores son quienes más sienten estos impactos. Las herramientas digitales pueden ayudarles a anticipar riesgos, proteger sus cultivos y fortalecer su resiliencia.
El sector agropecuario no solamente se trata de darle acceso a productos financieros. Tenemos que reconocer que el pequeño productor agrícola, si hay algo que le hace falta, es conocimiento de su propia actividad y de su vulnerabilidad climática. Creo que ahí deben estar los esfuerzos sumados.
Cada año se pierden 300.000 millones de dólares y menos del 10% están asegurados en América Latina. Ese es el problema que buscamos abordar y la manera de hacerlo es a través de tecnología y un modelo de negocio que nos permita ofrecer seguros que sean baratos, pero que a la vez podamos vender muchos.
En los últimos años nos hemos focalizado en esta parte de cómo ese acceso a data le permite realmente al pequeño productor mejorar la calidad, la productividad y también, digamos, tener mejores ingresos y ser más resiliente al cambio climático.
Para aprovechar nuevas oportunidades, adoptar mejores prácticas y construir fincas más resilientes, los pequeños productores necesitan acceso a financiamiento. Sin embargo, muchos aún tienen dificultades para obtener crédito, protegerse de los imprevistos o realizar las inversiones que podrían transformar su productividad.
El acceso a los créditos para la apicultura en el territorio ha sido bastante difícil. Se requiere mucho, piden muchos requisitos para que el apicultor acceda a un crédito. Ahora de pronto, con la nueva modalidad, la empresa que nos quiere brindar la oportunidad de crédito, hemos visto pues que ha sido fácil, ha sido sencillo hacer un crédito. Creo que los créditos han sido asequibles porque no se requiere tanto trámite y fácil porque no hay que esperar meses, solo en cuestión de días mientras organizamos todo.
Acercar financiamiento de calidad a pequeños productores agrícolas en la ruralidad es un asunto que hoy no es solo de financiamiento y de inclusión financiera, sino que es un asunto de seguridad alimentaria. Disponibilizar un servicio financiero que permita acceso a capital de trabajo de destinación específica mayoritariamente como insumos y luego que esto se pueda recaudar contra la cosecha.
Mi negocio ha venido creciendo paulatinamente, ¿cierto? Ha crecido, cuando iniciamos aproximadamente con 6.000 matas, 6.000 plantas de hortensia, en ese momento tenemos 10.000 matas. A veces es duro o es difícil cuando no tienes una experiencia crediticia o cuando el cultivo todavía no muestra ingresos. Entonces ellos creyeron en nosotros y así iniciamos. Bueno, los beneficios de hacer todo el proceso de forma digital es que no tenemos que desplazarnos hasta la oficina o ir a buscar una asesora, sino que miramos, entramos a las páginas, revisamos, podemos mirar qué nos funciona, qué no nos funciona y de esa forma agilizamos mucho.
No solo ofrecemos crédito, nosotros ofrecemos un acompañamiento a nuestros agroempresarios para desarrollar habilidades empresariales y por eso desarrollamos unos cursos de acompañamiento que le permiten a esas personas crear y desarrollar sus productos como empresa. Es apalancarnos de herramientas como inteligencia artificial, data alternativa, que nos permita facilitar y conocer mucho más a las agroempresarias para poderle facilitar el acceso a nuestros servicios.
Incluso con acceso a financiamiento, comprar maquinaria agrícola de gran escala rara vez es viable para pequeños productores. Sus fincas son demasiado pequeñas para justificar el costo o recuperar la inversión. Lo que necesitan no es propiedad, sino acceso. Los modelos de activos compartidos están cambiando esta realidad, al poner maquinaria esencial a disposición justo cuando los agricultores la necesitan.
El origen de Hola Tractor nace por el desafío de los agricultores para reparar sus tractores, acceder a comprar uno. Entonces ahí fue donde nació el concepto de Hola Tractor, compartir una maquinaria en lugar de comprarla.
Los beneficios que yo he visto, te conectas con personas de varios lugares y lo que hace la aplicación es como que encontrar entre todas las personas alguien que pueda dar algún servicio. Directamente desde el celular uno agarra, verifica, mira qué precio. Nos abre muchas puertas. A mí como persona, como yo estoy estudiando, mis padres tienen trastorno, son agricultores y a mí me llamó eso la atención, ¿no?
Por lo general nosotros primero hacíamos servicio nuestro, ¿no? Para nosotros. Pero ahora con esta nueva aplicación que está apareciendo estamos poniendo más bien más en disponibilidad, porque no solamente nosotros vamos a hacer servicio en esta área. Hola Tractor está difundiendo mucho más en este ámbito de agricultura en la cual nos va a poder ayudar a muchas personas.
Las herramientas ayudan a hacer más, pero la información ayuda a decidir mejor. La asesoría digital, la capacitación y los datos en tiempo real se vuelven esenciales para enfrentar el clima, las plagas y los mercados.
Antes de que nosotros conociéramos la aplicación esa que nos ofrece Sembraco, que es Sembradí, pues uno detectaba algún problema, alguna anomalía en una planta y mientras uno llamaba al ingeniero que tenía tiempo, pasaba 1 o 2 semanas en venir, pues eso tarda en el proceso de recuperación de la planta. Mientras que ahorita con el proceso, con la aplicación es digite la pregunta, envíela y a 30 segundos, minutos ya está la respuesta. Entonces ya es más rápida la aplicación para controlar el problema que esté pasando en el cultivo como tal.
La nueva plataforma de Sembraco integra diferentes tecnologías como imágenes satelitales e inteligencia artificial, en la cual podemos darle un mejor acompañamiento al agricultor, un tiempo de respuesta más rápido y más acertado para cada cultivo. Y también tenemos una nueva plataforma que nos permite hacer una conexión directa entre clientes y agricultores.
Entre más oportunidades podemos traer para los caficultores, podemos crear caficultores que sean más preparados utilizando nuevas herramientas que al fin le van a servir a toda la cadena.
Estamos siendo pioneros y necesitamos realmente tratar de llamar un poco la atención de todo el mundo inversor y tratar de canalizar un poco más de recursos y ayudar a estas empresas también a que entiendan cómo tienen que canalizar esto.
Estas alianzas nos han permitido no solo ofrecer bienes y servicios a nuestros beneficiarios, las empresas que desarrollan las tecnologías, sino también poder contribuir al ecosistema de inversiones AgTech de América Latina con el ámbito de seguir fortaleciéndolo y en últimas tener una mejor inclusión tanto financiera como de negocios, como de impacto para pequeños agricultores en América Latina.
Los inversionistas deberían revisar cómo construir un ecosistema realmente sólido, donde tengamos participación de diferentes startups, de diferentes actores del ecosistema.
Y ahora, mirando hacia el futuro, el enfoque está en la escala, la colaboración y en generar un impacto duradero para los agricultores de la región.
Bueno,
Okay. Thank you very much for your attendance. We have finished the first part of our webinar. We will finish with two panels with experts and allies, and also with agriculturists and representatives of the company. And we will close in 40 minutes with the closing words of our Latin American director, Dr. Josensis. I would like to invite to this first panel to Farsad from FAO, so we can have a discussion how to strengthen access to digital agriculture for smallholder farmers. Please turn on your microphones and cameras. And after this panel, we will conduct the panel with Hola Tractor, Terra Café, and Producers Direct. Okay.
Could you please open your microphone and camera, please?
Yes.
Great, thank you. And Soroush, ¿te encuentras por ahí? William y Teresita también.
William and Teresita, are you there? Sarush? Yes, I'm here. Okay. Okay, now we delve deeper into the webinar. Mathilde Bowan, the Knowledge Director in ADI Luxembourg, Soroush Parsa, Science and Innovation Officer of the Regional Office of FAO in Chile, Teresita de Marco, who is Principal of Latam, and William Ernest, Senior Specialist based in Costa Rica. That gave us an initial presentation to introduce this panel. I would like to say that we need to consider that globally, the smallholder farming is a fundamental pillar of our agro-food system. According to FAO, 5 out of 6 agricultural operations operating with 2 hectares, but only have 2% of agricultural land, even though they produce 2/3 of the food of the planet. As opposed to the larger farms, those with more than 50 hectares, that concentrate over 70% of agricultural land. This is a similar reality in Latin America, according to a joint report, FAO report, and World Food Program. Small-scale farming is 80% of agriculture in the region, but faces persistent structural challenges, high vulnerability in extreme weather cases, and low access to financing. Also, they have other challenges like infrastructure gaps, land ownership, and limited access to innovations. So AgTech, or digital agriculture, gives high potential to increase productiveness, market access, and financial inclusion of smallholder farmers. Studies from Vietnam GSMA show that the option of precision agriculture in Latin America has generated productiveness increases of 50 to 100% in proven cases, which shows an important potential. Parallel to increase in capital after the pandemic, the investment funds have kept their interest in the global agri-tech initiatives, close of $15 billion in 2023, and has stayed at the same levels during 2024 and 25. But private investment in agri-food tech shows North America, Europe, and Asia concentrate the majority of the flows, but Latin America has received a small share of this, only of 5%. Also, in the region is highly concentrated. Brazil represented 55% of the total regional investment, followed by Mexico. So as a result, Bolivia, Colombia, Honduras, El Salvador, and Paraguay face great challenges to finance innovative initiatives. In this context, considering I want to ask a particular question to each panel members, and after your answers, I'll do a transversal question. I want to start alphabetically these specific questions. So I will ask the first question to Mathilde Beauvoir. She's the management director of knowledge of EDA. She's in charge of acquisition, knowledge exchange within the organization and among the professionals, and inclusive impact, as well as to develop methodologies and tools, the monitoring, the assessment, and the measuring of impact. Mathilde will speak in English, so I will speak in English.
I don't see you. Could you please open your camera, please?
Yes, I think my camera is open. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, great. So Mathilde, ADA has a valuable perspective by working in many geographies apart from Latin America, such as Africa and Asia. So in terms of innovations that actually reach smallholder farmers, what best practices have you seen that work successfully in those continents that we could replicate here in Latin America? Specifically, what has been ADA's experience supporting large cooperatives to become the vehicles that facilitate innovation for smallholder farmers?
Thank you very much, Luis, for the question. And indeed, we are sharing the sound with my colleague, Caroline. That's why you may see Caroline's name on the screen. I hope it's not a problem.
No, it's okay. But we don't see, I can see you, actually. I only see the name, but if you can open the camera, but if you cannot, it's okay.
My camera is open. Huh? Yeah, the others can see me, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah, right, you confirm. So, again, so thank you very much, at least for giving us the opportunity to share our experience from Africa and Asia. It's true that actually most SNUP and also ADA other projects are based in Africa. So we have a lot of lessons learned from these projects to share, but we also have some interesting examples from India, especially through SNUP, that I will rely on to share these lessons learned and best practices. Actually, a lot of them are similar to the ones shared by Leslie just before. So I think I will confirm some of these conclusions from the project presented, but it's a good sign, I think. So I will just start by clarifying what we are talking about exactly when we talk about digital innovations for smallholder farmers. And I think this is what Leslie meant by distinguishing between B2C solutions and B2B solutions. So on the one side, we have digital innovations which can be directly used by farmers. And on the other side, we have other solutions that are integrated by the organizations that interact with farmers, such as cooperatives, as you mentioned, but also agri-SMEs or financial institutions that we also support through our projects. And even when we integrate this type of solutions at the level of these organizations, they still can benefit farmers more or less directly, as we will see. But first, I would like to start with the first group of innovations, so the one which can be directly used by farmers. And these type of innovations include, for instance, digital financial services, such as the one which were presented in the project just before. So credits, mobile money, insurance, these kind of services, but also digital advisory services, especially to make sure farmers apply good agricultural practices. So based on our experience mostly from Africa, but also from Asia and also a bit from Latin America, actually, one of the first lessons learned we can share, which is similar to what Leslie said just before, is the fact that not all farmers indeed are ready or in capacity to adopt directly digital tools. There are still significant constraints, different types of constraints, maybe more external constraints linked to infrastructure, for instance, with limited connectivity, lack of access to digital devices. And this reality should not be minimized. Actually, it's true in Africa, it's still true in Asia. We also had this type of experience in Peru with another SNUP project. So we tend to think that technology is available everywhere, but in remote rural areas, it's still not the case. And on top of that, another more internal constraint maybe is the low level of literacy in general and of digital literacy as well. And to face these challenges, we may have identified a few good practices that we can share today. So first, again, aligned with the conclusions by Leslie, first, keep these solutions simple and adapted to local infrastructure and customs. So for instance, I can share one example of a project in Senegal where at the beginning, we thought, or the implementers of the project thought that using WhatsApp to communicate with farmers would be a good idea, but at the end, it was ineffective, especially due to illiteracy. So not digital literacy in this case, but illiteracy in general. And finally, a simple hotline worked much better in this case. Similarly, in another project in Zambia, for instance, the idea was to train farmers on good agricultural practices using digital extension tools, but at the end, radio programs enabled to reach much more farmers than these digital extension tools initially implemented. So one of the good practices we can share is keep it simple, but also remain flexible and agile. So don't hesitate to test, to revise, to change the strategy or the delivery channel if necessary. This is one of the main lessons learned. A second one, it's also to promote hybrid approaches, but in this case, by hybrid approaches, we mean combining digital tools with a strong human component. First of all, just as Leslie said, just to build trust with farmers, it's very important to include also real human relationships. Field agents, for instance, in this case, often play a key role in building trust, explaining the services. So in this case, it can be the simple financial services or advisory services, and then they can also explain how to use digital devices. They can demonstrate the value of the services. They can support adoption of the digital version of these services. So relying on these field agents and the human component is very important, first to build trust, but also because usually, or let's say at least often, hybrid approaches also work better than just fully digital ones. We have seen that also through a project in Uganda, for instance, again, to make sure that farmers adopt good agricultural practices. In this case, we were able to compare the combination of video training with in-person demonstration plots. With just video training alone, and at the end, the combination of video and demonstration plots was much more effective and proved better results in terms of product quality produced by farmers at the end. So digital solutions may be powerful enablers, but actually they are rarely sufficient on their own. And combining them with human touch is very important. So this was the main lessons learned regarding the innovations directly used by farmers, but we can share also a few good practices for the other type of innovations, the ones which are integrated at the organization level. So in this case, we talk in general about management information system, ERP systems, traceability tools, which have been also mentioned before. And in this case, sometimes such innovations can have very direct and tangible benefits for farmers as well, even if they are not used directly by farmers. So for instance, we supported a India, where local buyers were using an app to assess the agri-product quality. And at the end, the use of the app by the buyers allowed the farmers to sell faster their products and at more transparent prices. So even if in this case they didn't use the digital tool directly, it directly benefited them. However, with this kind of digital innovations, one best practice we can share based on our experience is that you have to keep in mind that such internal digital solutions require significant investments, not only in terms of money, but also, and maybe more importantly, in terms of time. First, it always takes longer than expected. This is one of the main lessons learned. And it also requires a strong investment in human resources. These type of digital systems are not only complex to implement at the beginning, but they also need continuous adaptation. And that's why it's important to invest a lot in human resources. it's essential to continuously take into account the feedback from the intermediate or end users of these solutions to ensure they are relevant at the beginning, but to ensure that they remain relevant in the long term as well. A last thing maybe to mention is the fact that this type of digital solutions also introduce new risks, actually, especially when automation or algorithms are involved. If they are not properly designed, they can create biases or errors. And a well-known example, for instance, is maybe pretty old experience with index-based insurance in Africa, where in some cases, when parameters were not correctly calibrated, at the end, this led to farmers not being compensated, rather they should have been compensated, and at the end, it ultimately undermined trust not only in index-based insurance, but also in insurance in general. In the same way, automatic credit scoring may also create more exclusion than inclusion if it's not correctly configured. So again, the good practice here we would like to share, is to thoroughly test these solutions with all stakeholders involved, including the intermediate user, the one who will deliver the solutions to the farmers, and make all the necessary revisions and adjustments before rolling these solutions out. So I stop here for the best practices we could share regarding these digital innovations for farmers. Maybe a final word on cooperatives, as you asked the question, Luis. From our perspective, actually, we see things a bit differently. We believe that there is no single type of organization that can address all farmers' needs at the same time. Cooperatives certainly play a key role on many aspects, but we consider that agri-SMEs also do, that financial institutions also do, each of them bringing different types of solutions to farmers. So actually, rather than focusing on one type of actor, on our side, we prefer to support a diversity of organizations, and especially to foster partnerships between them. So I think it's also aligned with one of the conclusions by Leslie, the idea being to deliver a broad range of relevant solutions to farmers, relying on several actors at the same time, because actually challenges they face are multiple and probably too many for just one type of actor. So I stop here. I hope I was not too long, and I leave you the floor, Luis.
Not at all, and thank you very much for sharing so much with us, with the audience. Thank you very much, Matilde. We will get back to you in a second. Bueno, ahora quisiera tener la perspectiva de Soroush Parsa.
Now I would like to have the perspective of Soroush Parsa. He's a Science and Technology Officer for FAO in Latin America and the Caribbean, located in Chile. He's an ecology doctor in the California University of Davis. He has worked in renowned organizations in the past, like the Agricultural Department in the USA and in Colombia. Soroush, FAO not only produce knowledge on agriculture, but also works actively with governments, entities like NGOs and private sector stakeholders to translate this knowledge into actions. From your role in FAO, have you worked in any interesting initiatives like the AgTech and the 1,000 digital towns? From your standpoint, which policy framework and strategies have you seen that work to bring digital agriculture to our farmers in the country? Thank you, Luis. I'm going to take a step back, not to stay only on the policy side. We've been working lately in FAO, but before that, in a couple of organizations focus on the smallholder farmers. And often in an ecosystem, we find what's new, what is modern, and what I think is important to ask ourselves in this moment: what has survived, what has had longevity in the system, to balance these questions on what's new and what's modern with the things that were innovations 10, 20 years ago that have continued to be relevant in these years. It's easy to create a pitch deck. So less is more. I want to give a name to some of the innovations that really get my attention. First is 1 Acre Fund. It's born in Africa. I invite you to listen to the TED Talk of Andrew Yang. He has an MBA in Stanford. He went on a trip to Africa. He saw the corn production, says it's not possible that we can do this in a better way. And lo and behold, a person with no idea of the agriculture brought a solution to millions of to agricultures. And what you're going to see from Andy, the main problem are the distribution channels. And distribution is a technology, and it exists already. There are seeds, the solutions are there. The true problem is distribution. So he has been successful for 20 years. That recovers 80% of the expenses, and it's an excellent. We have business models with consumers in Latin America is very difficult. Another organization that I like a lot is Digital Green. When we thought about the digital solutions or the robots, Digital Green, we did in YouTube more analogous, more videos, agricultures with local technologies, the long line of innovation, and they noticed that a technology developed by a person in this community could be helpful for another person in a different community. And also they have a way of presenting is in a video format, and moments when there are no internet with projectors. When we think of digital, the drones and applications is what comes to mind. But with the digital technology, even with batteries or whatever, is valid. And the radio is a very valuable mean. But video is much native mean to be able to understand a solution and to adopt. And if this video comes in the voice of a person similar to myself, not in the voice of an expert or scientist, but it's told by a person that is my peer that lives next to me, say, okay, validates his speech. This is not a guy sitting on a desk. This is a real agriculture. This brought us a solution that's very interesting, but it's a big problem and continues to be the state. Something that gets my attention that is quite new. We don't know if this is going to be this for long is USA 1. And the smallholder farming is not Latin America. Latin America has less than 5% of smallholder farmers in Latin America. If you want to have an idea of what has succeeded and what has failed, we need to see what happened in Africa and other places, like in India. And these new things that is being done is a hybrid between Digital Grain and 1 Acre Fund. It's USA 1. It's a program. It's the Agropreneur Development Program. There's mentioned by Matilda the importance of the field agents, the last mile agents. This is a key actor. We're creating systems focus on the final user, the agriculture, the farmer. You're not going to give the drone to the farmer. If you can show him the images, in the Argentinian country, they had 15 years of images, and they had no idea what to do with these images to a small farmer. So what one emphasized that. So we need to ask ourselves which one is the user, the small farmer that is not our user. You say B2B to C, and there has to be an B in the middle to the information reach the final destination. The other innovation model, my sensei, Teresita del Marco, who is present, person that I admire a lot, is innovation with this. It was founder. When capital was cheap, everybody was a founder. We were all consultants. Now you're a founder. If you're looking for a job, you're a founder. So with this explosion of founders, we created ecosystems, and it didn't work either. Not for the small farmer, at least. We need to think of a third user, which is the one that is the agripreneur, is a last mile agent. He's being supported with a business model. He can be one entrepreneur with an ecosystem and a platform. In the strict sense of the word, platform economy rapid. A platform that will allow to a last mile actor or to develop a business model as a solopreneur, like a sole entrepreneur, and that he can render these services to the last mile. That you have in the middle of B2B, B2C could be an agripreneur, maybe a last mile agent, is to think that in this sector that we consider him as an employee, an implicit person, a person that is not key for it. It's very important that this can be actually the key actor to release the possible impact of all technologies that we have on the shelves from 1990s. But if you see the top level speech of evolution of agriculture, 1.7, 2.0, we're still in 1.0. Smallholder farming is still 1.0. 2.0 is a little seed, a little. We're trying to close the gap of 4.0. Let's take a deep breath and let's realize that not even the seed of the green evolution has reached it. And there's an extraordinary universe. Over 99% of agricultural technology is in the fields. The internet of 8,000 varieties of potatoes. 40,000 varieties. These are technologies. What we need is this actor that distributes, that can resolve. Conclusion. There are interesting things that we can rescue from the last few years. Let's ask what's new, but let's ask what is what remains in time. Because of the things, let us think that the founder can be a last mile actor, that can be a very lean actor, very sorry for the length of my response. Thank you, Soroush, because of the discussions that we've had. We have identified maybe a commercial with different types of services. It is possible to have a direct relationship with technology and agriculture, seeing them from the systemic view, from the investment policy frameworks. We need to do this introspection and think of new ways. So, Soroush, thank you very much. I know you have a tight agenda, so thank you very much for your time. And we will continue with the questions. And then William Ernest, due to time constraints. So thank you, Matilde, for
once again at ADA as an organization for supporting us in this AgTech initiative for smallholder farmers. Thank you very much. Teresita, es un placer tenerte. ¿Cómo has estado?
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you. Teresita is principal Yale Lab Latam, and also part of Yale Lab Institute. She works for the ecosystem, digitalization, innovation, and I'm very pleased that we're so Teresita, the Yale Lab Latam is a most active ecosystem agri-tech fund, and from your investment standpoint and working with Grupo Bimbo, supporting startups, we want to know how you articulate this work with big companies and other actors in the private sector, not just to get the capital, but to upscale. And how the work you do fosters innovation ecosystems and entrepreneurial support. Thank you, Luis. Thank you for this question. Highly appropriate for this debate that we're having. That Soroush also said, for some of the challenge if we want to digitalize the country, and also to see the corporation, to see what's happening in the other side of the value chain. And from there, my first reflection is that if I have to summarize in a central idea, I would say to understand that the startups are not they're not upscale because of financial. Only when they are integrated in real productive systems. It's important to understand because this defines the role of venture capital in funding and what is the role and responsibility and the challenges of a private sector. So the technological base, when we have small producers, even more so. From IDB Lab Latam as a specialized fund, as mentioned by William, from the IDB, the niche funds. We are a niche fund, specialist fund. Well, not only our investments are focused on the agriculture, but our investors are also directly part of the agricultural sector. And something that is counterintuitive, and there was a very deep situation or gap between supply and demand of funds. And from one hand, and startups developing a large amount of solutions. The startup pipeline in Latin America has grown very quickly, and this is a very positive thing. But these two things are not meeting halfway. The offer of agri are not linked to the challenges or demands of the corporations and technology enablers. So this makes a little bit more complex when you bring this down to the reality of the region. We're talking where the majority of producers are small scale. So technology is not entirely adopted, but is integrated in daily operations. This is where we find a key point. And I'm very glad to talk about this possibility because of this. The digitalization in the country is not going to happen if we don't go by produce, by farmer, by product. We need to focus in the last few years on this. The role of corporations is a structural one because you already have something that the ecosystem cannot build access to producers' minds. If we think of a corporation from the bottom up, going one by one, we're going to work with a corporation who has a value chain, has thousands of smallholder farmers. Maybe we have direct access to these thousands of smallholder farmers. The companies have the capacity to implement this at a larger scale. If we bring this to the digitalization, we know that the effect that it can have through the acceleration of the adoption of technologies changes the conversation of what we're talking today as how to digitize our country, Latin America. But even so, we find another challenge. The corporation is not ready to adopt technology by itself. It is a challenge that we see. The challenges due to several reasons, trying to do open innovation, lonely from the ecosystems. We have a large challenge here that regarding the funding itself, the sustainability teams that have to defend this how and why to conduct the pilot testing. And it's not just the need or the financial limit, is how this is read of the value for their businesses to adoption of the technology. This is where we need to help the corporations. And this is why this program that we've been part of in the work with the projects with these 14 organizations has seen an innovative project in the ecosystem, because these 14 organizations somehow have managed to unlock or very interesting results. The project for me has been highly relevant for these 14 not only startups or more mature actors to mobilize a very important amount of capital and to bring closer this digital solution to small producers. Countries that are in developing stages find these ecosystems very useful, but beyond the numbers are the lessons, the insights. Then one of the main insights is that it's not just enough to develop the technology, but we need to build the conditions so technology is adopted. Is there where we think and are convinced that to work hand in hand with the corporations to bringing the innovation closer to them and to articulate with the startup, and because corporations and startups, they sometimes they don't speak the same language. So it is different standpoint. We have this responsibility. We need to be articulators to find that the startups on a portfolio and the startups that we are connected to in the market can have through us a dialogue with corporations, with potential clients, with those that are the ones that create the pilots at the end of the day, and to try to articulate and the supply and demand, and that make the innovation reaches the value chain of these corporations that can impact directly many small whole farmers. To close, my conclusion is, first, there's a big need to articulate the demand that has shown that the innovation is very important to be aligned with regards to the private sectors, to take more active roles in terms of adoption. It cannot be just clients. It got to be the channel through the one. And third, to build connected ecosystems. That is also the Leslie solution everybody else has mentioned. This project operated in 6 countries that are developing countries. The regional scale allows, in the end, to create a metric that attracts the needed capital that is important, but is not the only thing needed. We need key stakeholders, we need field agents and in the value chains for the adoption of technology. Thank you very much for being part of this program. Thank you very much for IDB and ADA for all of the fund this type of projects. And we know that the challenge is not to generate more innovation, but to make this innovation to reach the farmers. Thank you. Thank you very much, Teresita, and I want to highlight the fact that you accompaniment that you provided for this program. It was completely inspiring and helped us to understand, particularly with startups, that for Incofin is a new world, and we've been able to get some valuable lessons to work with them and bet more and as you mentioned that come from these companies with risks and so forth, but a great potential. I would also like to extend my thanks to Patricia Rivera from Nesters that work with, and all the consultants that were there present. And to close this panel, I would like to invite William, that already made the presentation at the beginning. If William could turn on his camera, and William, the finalist. The BID Lab continues to be, the BID Group continues to be the most important financing for Latin America. It tries to mobilize capital to boost transformations that the market by itself does not generate. So I would like to ask you, William, how do you think that these kind of programs like the one we conducted in 2025 can be improved and be upscaled to get the information that the market doesn't generate in terms of digital agriculture? No problem. Thank you, Luis Roberto, for the question. All panel members, I think they were very interesting. I think that the market has a role, but I think it's learning. And the BID Lab role is to help it understand this is innovative. We're talking about capital and not just AgTech. It's venture capital in general. Africa, America, Latina are regions with very little investment, so much less in agriculture. So what we need to take is a role with the corporates so they adopt our role is a little bit to show to the market that there's a business here. How can we do this? With the de-risking role and highly risky interventions. We have to be pioneers to show that this is possible, that there's income in business. We're not here to replace the market. We want to mobilize these opportunities. Our role then is to identify entrepreneurs and allies like yourselves to have these innovations and to see that we not only can import innovation from other markets. This is a business that we're in. I think in the project with Incofin, SNUP, and ADA is a demonstration of this. That show that these 5-6 countries that we can work with and quality entrepreneurs of global talent that we could be exporting solutions to other markets. And this is the mechanisms improvement of productiveness. Not only to see what is the newest, but also what has worked in the long term. I think that it is extremely important the fact that we have clarity that the farmer is not the user. So that's why B2B and B2C have been more successful. So applying these insights, divulging this, and talk with corporate groups, like Teresita mentions, are very strong pioneers, but there are other corporations in the region that are not even looking at these possibilities. The investment on other places. So we want them to invest in our funds in focus on our innovators. This could be the catalyzer and this partner, and show these corporate groups and family groups that this is a good business that requires support. William, thank you very much for your participation in this panel and for all the support and that you gave all throughout the program. Also, the Melania and all the analysts at the closing of last year, and Incofin, great thanks to you for the trust and continuous. So we close this panel with the eyes of the panel, and I will give the last section of our webinar. We have the participation of 3 organizations from the portfolio of this project that are Hola Tractor in Bolivia, and Process Direct in Peru. I would like to ask one question to each one of these companies. Each one of these companies has invited a user, an ally for their digital solutions. And for this reason, I would like to start by asking the question to Pedro Viera, that has an open mic, or Julio Elias, who is a co-founder of Hola Tractor in Bolivia. Julio Elias is a yuca producers association in the department of Santa Cruz de Sierra in Bolivia. Pedro and then Julio, I would like to ask you that why Hola Tractor bets on collaborative economy by the connection of available tractors in areas in which organizations like the one represented by Don Julio can have access to this services. Why Hola Tractor decided to bet on this? And Don Julio, how have you felt the changes before and after using the Hola Tractor? Go ahead, please. Thank you, Luis. And thank you for being this part of this initiative. Glad to be here today. Hola Tractor was born almost 4 years ago. On the previous experience on the agro, especially working with agricultural mechanization, and more than connecting with agricultural machinery, what we do is build a technological infrastructure that can be an enabler for rural people, smallholder farmers that have access to services that are highly valuable. And we saw that they are the difference between moving forward or staying in a status quo situation in the production. I personally have been an experience of almost 8 years. And when I had to go out to the field, I saw the difference between a farmer that have a tractor versus the one that did not have it. So having a tractor is the real difference, a real access to technology. Therefore, we always try that our technology to make it user-friendly, to enroll WhatsApp, text messages, phone calls, because the real purpose is that our farmers and cooperatives can access the service that we offer. In the same way, an app or it's not just enough to reach the farmer, to share the value proposals, and to fulfill the mission of Hola Tractor. Therefore, we incorporated the key actors in this business, like the operators of the agricultural machinery, our reserve agents, they are the ones who bring our initiative and our infrastructure to the farmers, to the fields, the owners of the machinery, which are our entrepreneurs. They are the ones who have their assets in their platform, not just for them, but also for communities. And based on this, with the agriculture in the center as a beneficiary, we are betting on creating a layered infrastructure, resolving different types of problems regarding such an important asset like a tractor, two-wheel, four-wheel tractor that is useful for the and this can be worth $20,000 to $70,000. And we took initiatives that were successful, like by seasons. So we leverage on this fact. Why not to monetize the assets that are there and the results that we've obtained since we started having very favorable, not only in the economical aspect, but also in the communities, social development, social space, and the practice of sustainable agricultural practices. Our impact report said a few years ago that a global gaze says that the tractor helps to contamination and promotes the CO2 emissions, but on the contrary, optimizing the usage to reduce the emissions and increase the scope, more agricultural or more farmers looked after. That's how we implemented the IoT to optimize roads and reduce the emissions, the CO2 emissions, and especially to increase the productive use of tractors and machinery. So this is what I have to say. And we're open to alliances, especially in Bolivia, Peru, and Colombia. And we're open to access to markets and to our presence in the mentioned countries. I give the word to my friend, client, who's a yucca farmer. I'm representative as my experience. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the community of Los Tajimos is a declared yucca production area. It is a basic staple in the feeding of Bolivian families, because through this tuberculum, this is why it's so important, the planting and cropping of these yucca. And you know that for production, we need agricultural machinery. We but we had a problem before that we have waiting lists. It was for about 1 month or 2 months. You know, the agricultural productions timing is terrible because we need the rain to accumulate moisture in our soil. Our seeds gets dried. We don't have the seed available in time. Therefore, the yucca producers, we were at the mercy of the availability of a tractor. And this really soon, our production declined because we didn't have enough time in which we had to plant using because we don't have irrigation in the community. We only do planting, waiting for the rains to accumulate moist in the soil. And this is not good for our tubercular production. And when the Ola tractor turned up, our production got facilitated because by grabbing a cell phone, we were request the tractor, and in 2 days we'll have it on the farm. So we have to prepare our soil. The soil preparation is very important to produce the tuberculum because we need to accumulate moist in our soils. And this is why we have improved our production. We are already collecting. Before, our soil produced by hectare close to 200 bags, like 70 kilogram, 200 bags. Right now, I have collected 250 bags. So we've had an improvement in our production. And this is thanks to the fact that we are being able to prepare the soil and at the right time and making the most of the humidity of the soil. This is what I can say, that thanks to Ola Tractor, the production of the community have the availability and the certainty that the tractor is going to come when we need it. We don't have to wait 1 or 2 months for the mayor's office to provide a tractor because they had us on a waiting list and so on. A waiting list was for 1 or 2 months because the seed will dry up and then it will not sprout. Thanks to the application and Ola Tractor, we have, you probably visited the land. You've seen how the production was, and let me say that I have already collected a good production of 250 bags per hectare. This is what I can say, and thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for this application. Thank you. Don Julio, Pedro, thank you very much for your participation. I know you were connected from the beginning and waiting for this moment to share the work you've done and how firsthand we have contributed to the organization represented by Don Julio Elias. It was a pleasure to meet you in person in Cotoca a few months ago. We go to Precious Erect, which are our allies in Peru. It's one of the projects that we co-finance with Peru. And 8 were funded with IDB Lab resources. I would like to ask the question to Catherine that I saw connected, and Hernan, that has Ms. Flor Guayanca, who is also a user of the service. I would like to ask this following question. If the team of the Pantoglot team, please open the microphone to Pablo Flores. Considering catering the access challenges to technical assistance in rural areas in Latin America due to amount of many needs, the technical assistants find it hard to do frequent visits to the farmers. Which insights have you obtained in the digitalization of data to optimize the technical assistance of cooperatives in Peru? Thank you, Luis, for the invitation to the webinar and your question. And greetings to everybody connected today. I would like to start by saying, but the Growth Direct, we work directly with cooperatives and producers to safeguard the livelihood, strengthening the technical, organizational, and market access capabilities. Our bet on digitalization is born from concrete to upscale the technical system in rural areas. We do this not by only by amplifying its reach and improving decision making. Right now, we've been working in the strengthening of our CROPI platform, weather and field data from different sources. And with this, what we seek is to make that the right information gets to the right farmer at the best moment possible. This combines analytical information, prioritizes interventions like agronomical through WhatsApp and SMS. Answering your question on the lessons learned through this project, we have found several, but I have brought four for the webinar. The first one, the problem is not lack of data, but the usage of this data, because farmers are constantly producing and sharing information, but this not always turns in good decision making. What we've done is to integrate different sources to generate concrete recommendations and opportune, timely recommendations to bring correct information to the farmers that require it. Second lesson is that technical assistance can be upscaled, but in a hybrid way. We reached 2,100 farmers in 2 weeks, and analyzing this situation, we found out that it wouldn't be possible to do this in person. So with this, we confirm that the digital does not replace the in-person strategy, but that makes it more powerful. With this approach, what we seek is to prioritize the visits and identify farmers that require urgent support and better focus their resources in the cooperatives. The third lesson is that the channel is as important as the content, and with WhatsApp and SMS, because are the most accessible channels for the producers. But a challenge that was identified is that it's not lack of interest on the farmers' behalf, but there are barriers like connectiveness and the quality of the contact data. And the fourth lesson is the digitalization works better when it responds practically to real needs, because the most valuable content is the one that is linked to concrete problems, like in this case, crop or diseases or fertilization. And in summarizing what we've learned with the digitalization process, that we continue to learn with the activities that we've been putting forth, that digitalization does not replace the work of cooperatives, but transforms it and move from a model that is based on data to use it in a more strategic way, the resources and real needs of the farmers. Thank you, and I yield to Ms. Flor. It's a pleasure to see you again, Ms. Flor. from Huanca. It's based in Piura, towards the north of Peru, and is a current client of Incofin Management. So we've been very pleased. Has generated a service based on WhatsApp that allows from the Cropi platform to deliver information on pest management in a weather intelligent way for coffee crops. Ms. Flores, nice to see you again. What has been your experiences of using WhatsApp for the pest management in your coffee crops? Thank you. Good morning to all participants. Thanking you for your time and to know our capacities and achievement. I'm Flor Violeta Yahuanca Solis. I'm from San Miguel del Fac in the Piura. I'm a partner of a North Andean cooperative. Digital tools that have been providing support like messages through WhatsApp using in these recent times where technology has been changing has been quite helpful. In times when we need the support is a lot more practical. In my case, it trains us, it helps us, gives us orientation through WhatsApp messages, to video calls. When we are at the lot, we feel the need during months of January, February, where the pests are present because of the fog and the rain, is when we need it the most. We go in the phone, we consult our technician, and they support us and connect us with the people that give these trainings. And we know that there is a pest, we take a picture, we send it, and they give us support. Very practical and highly beneficial for us because thanks to them, this 2025 campaign, we have obtained great achievements with God's help, all the professionals that help and work in these sectors, and we've had a favorable campaign. It is beneficial to all our households and our families. It is the resource that we needed every day for us as farmers. We feel the need to be trained constantly. Certainly that technology is not going to replace technical assistance in person that are also with us here, but it's very important and highly beneficial for each one of us. So all the users in Argentina. Thank you, Ms. Flor. I'm very thankful for the receiving that you provided for us to us and the Andean team, and very pleased also that you find benefits in cropping. Catherine, thank you for your being with us until the end of it and for sharing your experience. Lastly, I want to introduce Carlos Mejia and Rosa Martinez. Carlos is the co-founder of Olo Tractor in Honduras. Rosa Martinez is a strategic leader in Vindoer, a coffee exporter in Honduras who acquired the services of Terra Café for the productiveness in coffee, quality prices, credit management, a bundle of services that are facilitated in their management based in the Terra Café systems, and that has managed to benefit in specific case of NOEP over 1,000 coffee growers in Honduras. It was, but also not only them, but also having an impact on 13,000 coffee growers of Terra. Following question, Carlos and Rosa. How was the process of thinking of traceability, functionality of to guarantee better access to export markets on the coffee growers that you work, specifically, Carlos. Why do you work with these organizations? In the case of Rosa, why do you consider that these systems have improved your productiveness? How you validated this functionality to keep the European markets? What do you think that is going to happen in the future? Go ahead, please. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. Carlos Mejia. I'm the founder of Terra Cape. I identify with the comment made by Sor, where he mentioned something interesting in the trip that we took with Luis to visit Rod and other clients. One of the comments that he said, our action center to create these products is based in empathy. Producers have to battle the weather, battle the prices, battle the materials price increases, to be on top of that, to be battling with the tools that they need to be effective, not because of the neighbors doing something, but what kind of information based on my criteria and data can I take more opportune decisions. And the only way we found to do this around empathy, to understand how the production process works, like Elor and these small farmers, where Ildor, it was mentioned from the FAO officer, and Matilda mentioned something very important, which was Elor, whatever they are in the cooperatives, they are the People's Bank, the Action Center, and the place where the farmer goes to bring their kid to the hospital at 3 a.m. in the morning, place where he gets credit, where they get technical assistance, and that these organizations don't have the proper technological tools is an additional challenge. And this is what we've been trying to address from Terra Capital to create digital products. Rosa, what do you do in Loader? Why do you bet on the sustainability programs? And why do you bet on the technology accessing the Terra Capital systems? And how this is going to continue to work out for you as business as well as for the farmers? Good morning, everyone. Please, can you confirm? Excellent. Rosa Martinez, pleasure to say hello from Lemperal, Honduras. Ilor is a coffee exporting company. We're exporting over 20 countries in all continents. And this is a real challenge because markets are demanding a lot, the traceability, sustainability, and origin information of the coffee. Last trends in the market show that the consumer wants to know where the coffee comes from, and this demands a backtracking process to the origin that requires lots of information and data, and especially to provide this information in a reliable way. Elon is the first carbon neutral certified company in Honduras. This implies to do quantification programs of all the GHG emissions, develop emissions compensations programs, and also to emissions reductions program. All these initiatives that started in 2021 so made us think what else could we build, and to see the profitability of all these processes. We work with more than 4,500 families of the coffee, different departments of Honduras, and this involves, of course, a lot of investment work and technical assistance. How do we gather this data to afterwards work with them with Terra Capital and transform them in reliable information for our clients? This effort brought us to create other tools that would allow us to have more friendly traceability on the client side, but also field work with the producer, because our rural areas don't have a good internet. They're complicated. When there is a crop moments, lots of rain, the access to rural areas is complicated. they're hours away from our headquarters. This involves the development of tools that are more user-friendly with the producer, that are offline, so they can load up. They don't require the internet, and so we can have access to this data. This all brought us to development initiatives, especially to side thinking, to see with the producer to see what was not friendly to the user, which is what we were trying to, not just agricultural practices, but also emissions, information registration, fuels, everything that involves the fertilization, the management of the crop, and also the information of the production of the farm. So we did our field work with the producer to see which is more friendly, what information is more understandable, because we need to display the information in a way that is understandable, and then transform all this data in a friendly tool for our clients, because the mind frame of the European market is different than the mind frame of the Asian market and other markets. So besides this, we also have a challenge of the EU requirements of prove zero deforestation, and this involved an additional work within our systems, a tracking platform for deforestation. So our coffee farms, where we export over 800 containers, out of which 270 go to the European, 270 containers, to prove that this coffee was not collected with deforestation. So this involves the referencing of the farm to transform, so Terracape can do the tracking with the satellite and satellite imagery to say if this farm has shown deforestation or not. So this involves very hard work from our how this information is transformed in good data, so our clients can, if these batches comply with our requirements, because to give this profitability to the producer, we need to have these price deltas on our work. And this is final top, which is profitability. Many times markets demand traceability, lots of effort, but what is the payment availability? Here's where we find all of this is costly. All this effort that we've been doing with Terracape has proven that we can comply with all these requirements, and this is translated to the producer to have a slightly higher payment availability, to pay better for the coffee due to volatility of the coffee, and this involves lots of lack of control of how much I can yield this in this crop. So these types of initiatives strengthens our infrastructure, not to be afraid of technology. This has changed a lot lately, and to also have to bring this information to the producer, that the producer joins with trust that this information is being protected, which is another topic, because we're talking about the coordinates of where they live, their farm, that is in this database. So this information, this reliability, and then we are protecting all this information to give our clients, but to have this care given by Terracap, and all these processes are key. So our goal as a company is to continue to create sustainability initiatives and seeking profitability for our producers. Rosa and Carlos, thank you very much. Thank you for the serious work that we've done, and to wait for this moment to share your experience. Thank you very much for the visit that we did. For the auditorium, I want to thank you for being committed up until this time. Our last part, our closing remarks of our Latin American director, Jose Enciso, based in Bogota. Go ahead, Jose. Thank you very much. I'm going to be very brief because everything that needed to be said was already said. I want to thank all attendees and participants, and I also want to thank all the speakers. I think that presentations were clear, all the messages were highly relevant. And to close, I just would like to leave 3 insights and learnings that we have achieved in Incofin and one invitation towards the future. First learning that we achieved is that this project was not a classic accelerator. And it was not a project where we tried to provide training or mentoring. This is a program where we mobilize resources, fresh resources to companies that need it, also to companies of the digital agricultural ecosystem in Latin America. We focus basically on trying to find the real voids that some companies had in their business models. And with these resources, try to close these gaps and try to help them out to continue in their growing stages. Sometimes there were software development, some other product development, some marketing issues, commercial issues as well. But the idea was always the same, to strengthen the business where it needed it the most through a strategic technical assistance. The second insight and second learning, when we have little knowledge and we are prejudiced about some things, but the projects helped better understand the operation of the agricultural systems in Latin America. What are the opportunities? Which are the pains and limitations? What are these companies really needing? And this is not a simple issue. With all the ecosystem, we need to continue to find solutions and support for these companies. Today, after the project, I can say that we can understand much better how the companies are being structured in Latin America, how much capital do they require, how the solutions are being structured, and where are the real impact opportunities. And the third insight, or the third learning, which may be the most relevant one of them all, is that a large part of the innovation in digital agriculture is reaching the world, but it's not necessarily reaching those who need it the most. It's reaching large producers, large farmers, large chains, developed countries, but it continues to be very hard that these solutions reach effectively the smallholder farmers. And here's where we see a huge opportunity. And this is where we see the largest contribution of this project. There's a big opportunity to connect 2 worlds that are apart right now. The venture capital world and the producers world. Risk capital, private equity capital, digital innovation and financial world. And the invitation is exactly that one, to manage to mobilize more capital effectively and to be more structured and intentional. So in the end, we can bring this digital innovation to our producers, because it is clear that the potential is there, technology is there, and the companies are there as well. Therefore, what we require as an ecosystem is to take that next step, and projects like this one are helping us to do it. And the invitation is that, like this ecosystem, to take this next step. Thank you very much, all. Thank you, Luis, to the organization of this webinar. Luis, I'll give you the floor for you to do the closing. Thank you, Jose. To all the audience, I want to thank you for being all this time. And I want to thank especially to all the organizations, farmers, donors, Caroline, Matilda, William from Big Lab, panel members, and everyone who made this project a reality with all its challenges and limitations, as well as all the achievements that we showed. To all the audience, I want to confirm that we will be answering the questions you sent in private and through the chat, specifically to each person who asked the question, but also we're going to answer publicly the questions that we consider to be general to shed more light on the issues. You'll get this on an email, as well as with the registry to the webinar and the link to the video and the final report of the project that is being prepared by the Liente Network and supervised by me. Lastly, I want to thank especially to my colleagues from Incofin, especially to the office in Bogota, some people that are no longer part of the organization but were key, like Victoria Popova, David De Web, Magdalena Velázquez. I also want to especially thank two colleagues in the Bogota office that have had special considerations for this project. I want to thank Paula Garzón, Juliana Cabrera on the due diligence team, Aura Mesa, and Luis Povesiet of the legal team. Also thank Favor Equity colleagues, Jose and Jorge, and colleagues that are no longer, and in general, all the colleagues in the organization in Belgium, at Spedelsman, and people that have been with us, like Angela Chavarro and Max Friedman. Thank you, all the entrepreneurs. This is the closing of the project, and we will be sharing the information very soon with the AgTech Network for being with us in this project. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.